All right, making this video because really common question I'm getting right now, both with first-time home buyers and really just people in general, is now a good time to purchase a home? And on the contrary of what a lot is out there, I actually think now is a really, really, really good time to purchase. I'll explain why, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There's no doubt interest rates are high, right? But I think what this is going to come down to, right, is two things, right? What is inventory now, and what is inventory projected to be? And then what are interest rates going to do in the next year to 2 years, right? So I want to start with inventory. So you will see here with inventory what this graph is. So the orange here, this is completed houses in the United States, and the light blue that is on there, this is what is called housing formations. What housing formations are is it's a government, it's how the government tracks who is moving into the age and the financial position to be ready to purchase a home, right? So these in the baby blue, that should be people buying homes. And in the orange, that should be homes that are being completed. So you'll see, if you look right in here, 2006, 2007, 2008, builders lost their shirt, right? So this was the housing crisis due to a whole lot of predatory lending and everything like that. So what happened is builders stopped building as many houses. So there's now a lag when it comes to people wanting a house and builders building a house, because they want to protect themselves. They don't want to be as overextended as they were in 06, 07, 08, 09. So if you start looking since 2017, and this is on a nation scale. If you look at some of the metropolitan areas in the state of Texas, right? So DFW, Houston, Austin, even San Antonio, right? All of these are honestly even more magnified, right? But housing formations are significantly higher from 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and projected for 2023. So what does that mean? That means that there is a severe shortage of inventory for what people will be wanting to purchase, the amount of people that will be wanting to purchase versus homes that they have. So that's one thing, right? That's just simple formations. What about what has appreciation done? All right, so this goes all the way back to 1942. Again, this is nationwide. If you were to look at DFW, Houston, Austin, this would be even higher, right? But green is when homes appreciated. Red is when they didn't, and this also has the amount of appreciation that's out there. So you'll see in a 81-year term, as far as back as this goes, you're 73-7, and then one tie for homes that have appreciated since 1942. But here's really what I want to point out, right? And so if you look at 1943, right, it's 11%, 17%, 12%, 24%, 21%. So in a perfect world, right, when would you want to buy a house? 1942, right? And get all of this appreciation. This is how legitimate generational wealth is built, right? Same thing happened here if you look at 1977, right? So 15, 16, 14%, that 3-year span that was just killer, right? In a perfect world, when would you have bought a home? Probably back here in 1973, right, or 1976. Look at 2001, right, or 2002, right? That's 1, 2, 3, 4 years of double-digit appreciation. So you buy a house in 2001, by 2006, your home is worth 48% more than when you bought it for, right? And let me go back. Sorry. And then we saw this in COVID, right? We saw 20 and 21. We saw 10% and 19%. So when do you want to buy? Ideally in 2019, right? If you can figure it out, right? If you can get lucky. And I think I'm confident that we are on the precipice of that. And the reason being is if you look at what is coming on the market, people who are going to sell their homes and builders building homes. So if we go back to this, right, these are homes being built. Homes, they are not catching up. Builders are not catching up with demand for homes being built, projected demand, because they're afraid, right, of just being over leveraged and people not wanting to buy them, right? So we have not enough homes being built. And then, okay, what about existing homes? What if you sell them? Well, if you look at this, over 70% of current homeowners have a mortgage rate that is less than 4%. So what does that mean? That doesn't mean they're not necessarily going to move, but what it does mean is that a lot of them, and I've dealt with this firsthand on a ton of past clients, where they aren't selling their home. They're becoming what's called an accidental landlord, right? So they are keeping their 2% interest rate. They are renting out their house, they're cash flowing, and that cash flow is paying for their new house, right? So that's another reason why we're not seeing a ton of inventory. So what is going to happen with interest rates, right? You can Google, you can look at really any expert. There really isn't a expert out there that doesn't think that rates are going to drop in the next 2 years, right? And so what that means is we're in a spot where once interest rates drop, people are going to flood back into the market. If you look at this baby boom, right, there are more people that need a house that don't have one because of this, and because of people not going to sell their house because they're in such a good interest rate due to COVID, right? And so the trigger, the gunpowder, if you will, for this is going to be interest rates. And when interest rates drop, everyone is going to flood back into the market. And it's just really simple supply and demand at that point, right? If you have a much less supply than there is demand, we're going to see people be willing to pay more for homes. And what happens when people are willing to pay more for homes? That's when you start getting the double-digit appreciations that you're seeing here, right? The 19% in 2021. And so, yes, interest rates are really high right now. There's no arguing that. 8% interest is not fun, right? But if you can trade the interest rate, here's just an example. Collin County, that's where my current office is, right? So if you were to tell me, or I were to tell you, right, would you take a 8% interest rate for 2 years, and in that 2 years make $40,000 in appreciation, in 5 years make almost $100,000 in appreciation? That really doesn't, that math adds up, right? And this is historical appreciation. This is 3-4%. Where these numbers start getting crazy is if rates drop and we start seeing double-digit appreciation again. And Texas and the U.S., that's when these numbers really start to jump, right? So I honestly think that we are on the precipice of a really big jump in home prices because of lack of inventory. And so if you can get into a home now and swallow the high rate right there, we have programs that are out there that'll, buy down the interest rate for a couple of years, make it a little more affordable, right? And get in the home now. You can renegotiate the interest rate. You cannot renegotiate the sales price you bought it for, right? And so I think it's really important for clients and for realtors and for everyone to understand that you can really make some generational wealth here in the next couple of years because of what's going to happen with interest rates and because of where we are at with inventory. And so that's kind of where the housing market is at right now. We're still short on inventory, even with interest rates high. And when they drop, it's only going to get worse, right? And the shorter we are on inventory, the less supply there is. And whenever interest rates kind of like that switch and the demand switches back, that's when we're going to start seeing some serious appreciation. And you want to get into a home before you have to pay for that appreciation that everyone else is driving up. So if you have any questions, I am here to help as always, and looking forward to it. Thanks.